Welcome to Coding Records for VCDB, the short form. I am Suzanne Witta. In this lesson, we will discuss the steps required to claim an incident in the GitHub repository and code it up into VERIS format using our Survey Gizmo data entry form. You may be wondering why this lesson is called the short form. And that's going to be evident when you are in the Survey Gizmo tool. We have two modes of record coding. The first is the short form, which is used for incidents where there are fewer details, and an automated population of attributes is appropriate. These include common incidents such as loss and theft of physical assets, denial of service attacks, and several others which we will discuss when we get into that section of the form. For incidents that do not fit that pattern, you can also use the long form, which has all of the VERIS framework features available for use. So to start with, you need to identify an issue on the repo that is interesting to you and you want to code up. You can see that there is no shortage. We have lots of open incidents to choose from. I have selected one that is appropriate to this lesson. This is a loss, theft, stolen laptop incident. So the first thing you need to do here is you need to assign it to yourself. And you just click on Assignee, find your user ID, and click on it. This keeps us from having the problem of multiple people in the repo at the same time coding records and two people picking the same one, and then we get duplicates in the data set. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So in addition to having this open here, I have also opened the actual article, and I also have the VCDB submission tool open. So we need to log into that. Obviously you'd use your own user ID. And you can see here this is our demographic form where we put in just general information about the incident. First thing you want to put in is the GitHub issue number. And I'm a big fan of copy and paste. So that takes care of that. This is asking if this is a confirmed security incident, and yes it is. For incident summary, I like to actually take a copy of the article because one of the downsides of getting your information from the internet is that the links go stale. This way I will have the copy of what was actually in the content of at least one of the articles I am sourcing from. That just goes into incident summary, and then I want to grab the URL for the article so that other people can try and go and see how we coded the particular article. Now this also, as you can see here, has another link in there, and I want to grab that as well so that we don't lose that. If the original article goes away, it's possible the other one will stay. So there are a few actual required fields here. One of them actually is the incident year. So if you have nothing else, you need to have that. If you have month and day, certainly fill it out. And in this case, the theft occurred January 10th till 12th. Well, we'll call it the 10th. So 01. 10. Notification date. Do we have that information? We do not here. Do we have that information in the other link at all? This article does not appear to be dated. It's got an upload month of March. But that doesn't necessarily mean it is when it was notified. So we will take the date of the article, April 22nd, 2014, as the notification date. The multiple copies section is if you have an incident where there were, say, a defacement and a hacking group defaced 50 sites. So you can do yes here and 50, and at the end it'll code 50 of that particular kind of incident with the same attributes, and it'll keep the record count straight without you having to manually enter 50 of them. So, name of organization is Sims & Associates Podiatry Office in New York. Sims & Associates Podiatry, excuse me, United States, if it's in New York. Put the state in there. Only one location, so you don't need to change anything there. You can either look up the NAICS code by clicking there. I like this site because, go back to the top real quick, you can just drill. So you've got the top level major NAICS codes for industries. Healthcare is 62. This is where we just were. It's an office of physicians, except mental health, so podiatry does not tend to be considered mental health. And I will put that NAICS code in there. We don't know how many employees this has. You can get that from Googling them sometimes. I've tried to find information from various sources on this particular organization, and I couldn't find anything, so we're just going to leave that as unknown. Secondary victims information is if it is affecting more than one organization in the same breach. This does not. And this is the point of navigation we discussed before. We're going to do short form in this lesson. Click on Next. All right. Here you can see what the options are for things that you can actually code up in short form. If it doesn't fall into one of these, then you can just click on the back button here and choose long form, and you won't have lost any data. So this is theft of physical assets, stolen laptops, user device laptop. The variety of actor, we don't know anything about the actor, so you have to leave that unknown. We also do not know the actor's country of origin. We know that the motive was financial, because they're stealing stuff, and that tends to be a financial motive. Where was it stolen? These are our options, and it said from the New York office, and there wasn't anything else in here that indicated it was anywhere besides an office, so we're going to call that victim work area. And there wasn't information on how they broke in or anything, whether they bypassed controls or disabled the controls or anything, so we're just going to call this one unknown. Click on Next. It's not uncommon to have a number of unknowns in the public data set. So these are the security attributes that were affected, and clicking on the boxes gives you more detail, as you can see here. Obviously, the confidentiality possession is affected, and then so was availability because they lost the asset entirely. So this is whether or not this is a confirmed data disclosure, whether or not there was confirmed data breach. We can't confirm whether the data was accessed or not without actually doing a forensic analysis of the data on the asset, and obviously we don't have that anymore, so we will put this as at risk. Number of records are 6475. I could copy that, but we don't put commas in this field, so I just have to take it out again. We know it was stored unencrypted because basically if it was encrypted, they would have said it was encrypted, and they would have had safe harbor for having to report this because they consider the data not to be at risk if it's encrypted, unless you also lose the key. So, moving down, what kind of data they lost. They lost medical records. It said so in the article. They also lost other incidental information, but it's covered. The main thing these were medical records. These were not also, let's say, employment records or something like that, so we will just include it in this. And then these were patients. That's what the data subject is talking about, whose data was lost as far as the person who's affected. It was not partner-owned. The data was not, that we know of, subsequently used for fraud. This would be, an example would be data is stolen by an insider, sold to identity thieves, and then they file fraudulent tax returns with that data. That would be a yes here. So ours does not have that at this particular time. Credit monitoring, was it offered? Go back and read. Not seeing anything in here saying that they're offering credit monitoring. Let's look again at that other file and see if it says anything. And okay, when you start seeing stuff about free credit reports, that usually means that they're not offering credit monitoring. I mean, you certainly will continue to look through and make sure, but I'd be very surprised if once they start talking about how to get it for free, they also offer it as a service. So you'd only put a checkbox here if the answer was yes, and then you would say how many years it was offered. And then looking at availability, they lost the assets. Availability, obviously, because they no longer have control of the asset. We don't know how long they're going to lose that asset for, the use of that asset, probably forever, but at this time we just mark that unknown, and then if you have that information, then you can put in how long they lost the asset. A lot of this information we don't frequently get out of the public reports, but it's always worth entering if we do get it. For this particular case, when someone loses a laptop or something is stolen, it's typically internal. The person who normally uses it notices it, that it's not gone, that it's not there anymore, so they are the one who tends to discover the theft. And then impact, if there was subsequently some kind of fine levied by HIPAA or anything like that, we would update the record later. So this is good to go. Needs review, you mark that if you're not sure you coded it right and you'd really like us to take a look at it, and trash it if you are just doing testing. Okay? Otherwise, you hit submit, and we're done. Clicking this will take you back to the login page where you can log back in and do another incident. But the final thing you have to do here in the record is that you have to mark it closed because you've coded it up and it's done now. Okay? The next lesson is going to talk about the long form, and I hope to see lots of incidents being recorded by everyone watching this lesson. Thank you.